Hey, it's Peter. Thanks for clicking in and joining me. Um, we're facing so much with the COVID-19 crisis, and as I've been going through things these last several weeks, part of what I've started thinking about is the material we've covered in communication trainings, Leadership Institute, and workshops that we've done that address various challenges that we're having now and how everything that's changing around us could be affected by what we've learned and what we could use from those situations. I was at the Coffee and Connection last Thursday, and I dropped the term secondary facilitation. And that's one of my favorite things to talk about. And I was thinking I'd say a few things about that in light of what's going on with COVID-19. Many of you are now meeting virtually over Zoom or other platforms, or you're continuing to meet in person. But I bet there's a feeling of greater urgency in meetings, that decisions get made, that we're knowing who's responsible for doing what as we walk out of the meeting. And part of what's not happening now is you don't really have that opportunity to bump into people in the kitchen or pop into their office and say, you know, I don't really get it. What the heck was Peter talking about when he was doing that piece on secondary facilitation? Or, you know, I'm not really sure exactly what it was I was supposed to do. What are you thinking about? So we don't have those opportunities anymore. So the meetings have become that much more important. The idea of secondary facilitation, you may have heard about it if you've been in communication trainings or gone to workshops, or it might be brand new to you, and that's fine too. It's predicated on the idea that everybody in the meeting is responsible for the meeting being successful. So if you ever find yourself walking out of a meeting and thinking that, you know, we didn't really get things achieved that I was hoping for, or you're feeling a little frustrated, the idea is that you own part of that. And you have the opportunity in the meeting to make those things, to make the meeting better. And it's not just the person who's running the meeting's responsibility. We all have some responsibility in making meetings effective. I'm just going to go to a screen share, and you might have one of these, and if you don't, that's okay. This is the copy of the card that we've passed out in, let me go to this side. This is a copy of the card that we've passed out in best practices for ensuring good meetings. So it just is an attempt to some bullet points on some of those most important elements or things that can help you. And on the second side of the card is the primary and secondary facilitator roles. We're going to be talking, I was going to run through these pieces on secondary facilitation, as that's what I wanted to talk with you all about. These cards, by the way, are available on SharePoint, and I've included, I hope, information on how you can find that. Secondary facilitator. You can propose how to proceed at the beginning of the meeting if it's not covered by the facilitator. So you can just simply say something along the lines of, what is our agenda, or what outcomes are we looking for today, if those things aren't articulated at the beginning. Another thing is help others be heard. Ask clarifying questions. Things like, Peter, what I hear you say is that you want to deliver some tips on secondary facilitation. How do you see yourself going about that? You can also check for agreement. Now, this is getting particularly tricky as we go to Zoom for a lot of our meetings. Only one person can be heard at a time. You may want to make some ground rules at the beginning of the meeting that there's points where you're wondering if there's agreement. Do we use a thumbs up? Or you can use the actual thumbs up that you can click on at the toolbar across the bottom to check in for agreement among folks. But part of this is just asking sometimes, hey, we've been talking about this point. Are we all in agreement, or is there more discussion that needs to happen? And what do we have next? Help summarize key points. Taking that opportunity to say, particularly when there's brainstorming going on or a lot of ideas are getting pitched, what I hear us saying is that we're going to do the shopping on Tuesdays, and that we're going to put the shopping list in a red folder on the desk. And if you want to get your stuff on the shopping list for Tuesday, you got to be sure that it's in there by Monday night. Is that what we're all talking about? Doing some summarizing that can help a lot too. check progress towards meeting goals. If the group gets stuck, identify decision points. One of my favorite things where we get into discussion, we go down the road and it seems like we've made some decisions along the way, but nobody stopped to say, okay, is this what we're going to do? Bob, are you the one who's going to take care of that? Without saying those things, we can walk out of the meetings and not be really clear on what. And again, in a Zoom situation, that becomes a little more challenging as it's hard for us to all be talking together. And I also wanted to just mention, when you observe, experience something that is hindering the effectiveness of the meeting, address it. This can be as simple as recognizing that somebody's trying to say something just by their physical look, or by and nobody's hearing them, as can happen on Zoom. You might be able to say, hey, Joe, what is it that you have to say? Or I think Sarah has a point, or we'd like to hear from Sarah. Or it could be just bringing things back on topic, saying that, okay, I'm interested in where we're going with this, but can we get back to deciding on how we're going to make the grocery shopping happening on Tuesday? So those are several things that are possibilities that we can all do to help as secondary facilitators in meetings. As the primary facilitator, the person who's running the meeting, I would suggest too, to acknowledge the efforts of people when they are doing any of these things, when they are clarifying points, when they're helping with identifying decisions. If you're acknowledging those things, or even asking for people to be doing those things at the beginning of the meeting, hey, you know, I need us all to participate, and just being able to say that this is something that you're open to and looking forward to, you're helping to develop a culture that is going to have that easier back and forth and cleaner and clearer meetings that are going to be more effective and get us to where we need to be in these challenging times. Thanks for listening. I hope this could be helpful. If you have other things you'd like to hear about that have come from communication trainings and all these other pieces, I'd love to hear back from you. So thanks again.